I would now like to invite Mr. Shalin Srivastava, EVP, Head of Fraud Solutions, Alternative Data and Marketing Services, TransUnion CIBIL, to present the case study on solving for seamless authentication verification and fraud checks and enabling checkouts financing in digital payments. Shalin Srivastava to take over. Thank you.
Great. Firstly, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to this fraternity. It's an honor, and I do really want to thank this fraternity because of what you have enabled us to do as a nation, and how we were able to, enabled us to not just survive, but some of us to thrive during this pandemic. Obviously, it goes to show that whatever we've done over the last couple of years has actually been great foresight. Obviously, not for a pandemic, but in general, to be able to kind of move to an online and digital economy, right? Moving forward quickly to introduce ourselves. Obviously, everybody's aware of TransUnion and CIBIL, I'm sure, very often, but not many may be aware of the extent of TransUnion as a company globally, right? We're present in 35 different countries in various forms. We primarily are a data and information company. So we provide not just bureau services, but various other kind of services, health services. We deal in various kind of payment services as well. In India, of course, we're well known, but the impact, what we're really proud of, is what we've been able to do in this country over the last 1.5 decades. How we've been able to help grow the economy, and especially from a credit perspective, where we've taken loans from 56 billion in 2009 to 2018. It was about 348 billion loans dispersed and growing. Really take pride in the fact that today, where we stand, we have as many loans being dispersed in rural and non-metro areas as much as we do in metro areas, and also historically low delinquencies that we have enabled in this nation. So during this pandemic phase, right, while obviously the nation has and the world has been in lockdown, we've been spending a lot of this time kind of understanding the impacts and the changes in behavior that have been taking place. The most, referring to the more obvious ones, where we have situations such as streaming has jumped from, by 40 to 85% more globally, right? Whereas obviously e-commerce, where interestingly in places like US and UK, where you're seeing 15% hike in grocery shopping. Online insurance, of course, that's really drastically jumped up, 30 to 50%, and the drop in the offline modes. And this is kind of global. How behaviors are changing and adapting, where companies are using chatbots to deal more and more with customers. But during all this, obviously what has also changed is the extent of fishing and farming that has been conducted by cyber criminals, during this opportune time for themselves. So during this recent time, we've actually engaged in 2 different surveys. One was with The Economist, where they surveyed high-level executives across the world. And what we saw was more about the readiness by country to adapt to an online ecosystem, right? And not surprisingly, India came very high on top, especially when it came to around where the comfort of the individuals to be willing to share national IDs, both to private and non-government entities, private and government entities, where we had almost 93% compared to, obviously followed by China and so forth. But the confidence that the nation has, because all that has been done, and which was spoken about previously in just the previous presentation, that's really high and skyrocketing. And not only that, the willingness to use biometrics for payments, which is really high, 85%. And most strikingly, most executives in this country actually believe that smooth transactions are not just essential, but they are essential and not just a competitive edge as far as being ready and providing online digital services. Moving forward, so TransUnion, today we deal in a lot of areas, but what we wanted to speak about was about how we are enabling our customers across the board, across payments, banking, insurance, and all the sorts, in terms of making a seamless digital experience, right? From onboarding to signing up, to login, to regular usage, how we are helping the enablement of protecting both the consumer and you as an entity, right, while providing a seamless experience. So the areas obviously of focus, which are becoming common verbiage, so as to say, in identity establishment, video liveness, verification, digital risk assessment based on the digital identity of the individual using the service, behavioral biometrics, using fraud repositories, further stepped up authentication. Now this step we talk about more, but it's more about providing the ease of comfort when they already recognize you, how seamlessly we can actually allow you to use the service, whereas reducing friction. And finally, AML and KYC monitoring on a regular basis. Detection of fraud on documents based on photos, right? So that's really key that we look to differentiate ourselves. Further, actually verification of that information using a combination of various data sources, starting with bureau services, alternative data, device information, along with actual information such as location tracking, phone number risk score. So we are actually able to verify risk associated with a mobile number based on directly access to GSMA network, obviously the regular IP address risk, behavior patterns, and email address checks as well. So we're giving you a holistic view, right, in terms of enabling you to be able to access the data and then verifying that data as well. Right. Further on, how we are able to kind of add on device risk, right? How we are able to identify good customers, right? How we're able to identify potential bad customers from an ecosystem which over 6.5 billion devices globally and growing on a constant basis. We assess the device risk, scan hundreds of devices and transactions. How we do this is not just your regular IP address, just the IP address, but we actually have a capability to be able to create a fingerprint of a device without intrusion based on the various factors associated with the device, the account that is associated with that device, and we're able to actually use thousands of these variables to create what we call a fraud score, right? Fraud and check and successfully, very successfully and seamlessly in the back end allow for the passing through of non-fraud accounts while actually providing identification of possible frauds happening on your website, right? So as I mentioned, we have a network of Iovation, which is called, of over 6 billion devices, right? Over 45 billion transactions processed, and 26 million transactions protected every day globally, and over 69 million fraud reports placed by our cybercrime network on an ongoing basis on this particular ecosystem, right? Just to give you a quick highlight, over the last 6 months, in a country like India, which we just launched really in Q2, we've already got like 52 million transactions taking place, which is really skyrocketing over the other, some developed countries like China and Germany. And the rejection rates, as you can see, it's like 2.3%, which are daily transactions that we're continuously protecting using this ecosystem, right? Adding on to this information that we collated using a combination of machine learning and continuous learning of behavior and patterns of these accounts and these details, right? We're able to add on what we call is a show score. So it's like having information and having a score on top of that, with using a combination of both, which we're able to give you a holistic view related to the risk related to a device. So even if there are devices which we've never seen, right, using historical patterns and understanding location and behavior, we're able to give you a very strong indicator of potential fraud or risk associated with devices. So now, up till now, previously, we start with looking at the individual. So even if there has been some kind of identity compromise, but using a device which is known or potential risk associated with it, it actually gives you another added layer of security and protection for your individual and for your network as well. Right. Furthermore, we use a device capability called ClearKey, which enables that once a person has logged down and across multiple devices. So, there's a trend, generally a trend and a pattern to lock your application to a single device, But our advanced technology allows us to actually be able to let you use multiple devices, right? Somebody might have an iPad, somebody might have one or two phones. We're able to actually assess because of our large network, an individual, we're able to assess an account really across multiple kind of devices. And at the same time, so two advantages to that. One is the fact that if you're a regular user and you are a genuine person, can we make the login experience much, much more simpler? And second, obviously, to protect the ones from the ones which are probably fraudulent in nature, right? Right, moving on, taking the online and the offline identities. In the end, we look at providing fraud checks, obviously a KYC and AML, fraud consortiums. We spoke about devices, but also fraud consortiums for individuals, so known and suspected frauds that get reported to the credit bureau and other ecosystems as well. And finally, adding on a layer of analytics to give you a comprehensive outcome, to be able to make a decision in instant real time, to be able to give the best experience and protect your ecosystem. And taking it to the next level of, based on the outcomes of the fraud checks and the scorecards, make a decision whether we need to actually have add-on checks, maybe like an SMS, knowledge-based questions, which we do today using credit bureau reports and other alternate data reports, finally to a manual review, obviously depending on the scenario, but at the same time, keeping this to minimal friction to make sure we provide the best experience for your consumers. So this is mostly what we've spoken about at the first level of saying, how do we give the experience for fraud, making sure preventing fraud, and while we're giving a positive experience to your good customers. But further, as this payment ecosystem expanding, you guys are becoming a critical platform for access. And hence, how do we enable you to expand your horizons? Can we help you provide loans to these consumers? And a lot of payment gateways and a lot of banks are actually associating with this. Now, TransUnion, as we stand, we have a unique position to be able to help you do this, right? With our know-how, with our capabilities, we can actually create a very comprehensive capability using a combination of information that may be available to you from the payment side, plus with the new evolving ecosystem, such as the AA, access to various KYC information and bureau information, plus creating a underwriting model based on our capabilities, we can actually instantly approve loans. So a simple use case of saying if somebody is trying to make a payment from a wallet but doesn't have any balance or has a low balance even in an account, can we give an instant approval right then? To much larger use cases where can we give a personal loan or credit cards, and even for MSMEs where we're working extensively with a lot of the ecosystems today to give a loan to say, can we actually give a full-fledged loan based on a combination of all this information and on the platform which you have created. Right? Further, it's about real-time gratification. So based on all these outcomes, we will give a real-time loan right then and there. And not only that, today with the ecosystem that we have created, with a combination of our banks, and today we are providing this to various online players, we are able to actually create a nexus where we can provide loans to, sorry, just one second, please. I believe there was a chat message. I'm just across many windows here. Let me just check on this if you don't mind. Oh, sorry. Right. Moving forward. So there's an ecosystem that we've been able to create whereby existing bank customers, if they're on your portal, we can help identify, offer them a loan, which they can take then in real time, right? For a transaction on that particular website. So we run this for a lot of banks, e-commerce players, and a few payment players as well. How this works is a many environment where we're associating ourselves with multiple digital partners and with multiple banks, where we host or access a pre-approved database of such customers and are able to actually issue those loans right then and there based on very minimalist activities. So there's no KYC required, there's not much application form required because there's an existing customer has already been identified by the e-commerce player and or the payment portal. And using minimalistic combination of being able to identify them as a bank customer, whether it's simply thing as an OTP sent to their existing bank phone number registered with the bank, to last 4 digits of debit cards and so forth. This is becoming a very fast and effective way for both sides to be able to take advantage of each other's ecosystem. That is across merchants, payment portals, banks, and us in the middle. So effectively, that's mostly what we wanted to cover. This is just, we're looking at what we're providing as an onboarding capability with our data assets, fraud protection, and high flexibility, and immediate cost saving, tangible cost savings. This is what we wanted to cover with you guys. And I think I'm hopefully within time, just 15 minutes. I wanted to leave a few minutes for any questions that might be there. I'm going to stop presenting right now, if that's okay.
All right, Mr. Srivastava, thank you so much. That was indeed a very impressive case study. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, technologies and companies, I mean, everyone's working towards enhancing the current payment infrastructure, right? I mean, so why not go ahead and explore these solutions which are available with us today? So you heard it right. All you have to do is go ahead, visit the exhibit arena, which is there in the lobby area. Do not forget to visit our social lounge as well. With that said, do visit the Group IBN Winker Cyber booth to know more about fraud hunting platform and threat hunting framework as well. With that said, do not forget we've also got some Amazon vouchers for you. All you have to do is go to the virtual photo booth there, get a picture click, and upload it on your social media platforms. And do not forget to tag us. If you're on LinkedIn, you can tag us at Sapphire Connect. You can tag us on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, go ahead and tag @Connect Sapphire. And do not forget to tag us on Facebook. The handle is @Sapphire Connect.